Hey, how's it going? I'm Jason Soudah. I'm a mastering engineer based in Los Angeles, California, as you can tell by my accent. I'm a huge 1176 fan, and ever since I first started using them, I've been obsessed, and nothing else does what that thing does. Since I first started using it at remote control, hands in the studio, one of my mates there started calling me 1170 Soudah just because it was on a lot of my tracks. But yeah, it's often my first go-to, especially on the usual culprits, the lead vocal and the bass. But I just love it for not just what it does sonically, but what it does energy-wise. Like it just makes it sound like a more intense performance when that's something that I want. It just feels more upfront and it can be more in your face, but also not necessarily aggressive unless that's what you want. Like it can just be more intimate as well. And as well as being a massive 1176 fan, I'm also a massive Greg Wells fan. So when the two of those wonderful things came together in this new plugin, Greg Wells and an 1176, modeling one of his very own and very unique special pieces of hardware, to the point where he is using the software and it speaks beyond volumes, the fact that he's happy with a software emulation of something that he knows and loves so dearly. It's got to be bloody good. So I was very excited when I got the chance to check this out. Yeah, so I'm just gonna kind of go over a little song called "Crushed," which I wrote a while ago and had the honor of recording it with Sylvia Massey producing and engineering, alongside Michael C. Ross engineering and mixing. And I did this with my band, Matt Collins on drums, Will Davis on bass, Ian Graham on guitar, and Laura Collins on cello. And I'm playing piano and organ on this one, and singing. So this is a song that I recorded probably like 10 or 15 years ago, and they mixed it. And this is the stems from the mix, which was done on an SSL. And I love the sound of it, but it just came up as an idea to give it a new lease of life with this balcony left 1176 plugin and see what happens. So yeah, I'll just jump in. I've got the tracks out here. I started fiddling with it on the lead vocal, the doubles, and the drums, and then I thought, why don't I just have you come along for the ride and see, so that you can see the process as well as hear it, the change it's making. I'm going to try and level match as I go, but at the same time, I am wanting to make this whole song feel louder just because it's 15 years old and it needs to be louder now. Anyway, so 1176, balcony left, Greg Wells, amazing. Absolutely love it. I've also been using it on orchestral mixes that I've been working on, and I've even just put it on like the string bus on its own. It's just bringing things to life, like making samples sound more realistic and more emotional. And I don't know what this thing is doing voodoo wise, because that's what it's about for me, is the vibe of it and how it's bringing out details and how it's like adding fullness. And it's, you can push it really hard, but it doesn't get brittle and harsh in the top end, which other emulations that I've used have done. And I try and avoid that. Obviously. So yeah, this is really magic. I'm excited to get in. So I'm going to play just a little bit of the song as it is. This is the pre-master, obviously, and then you can get an idea for where we are with the song. And yeah, and then I'll start putting the balcony left on a few things. Okay, maybe just play from the beginning, just till the first chorus. All right, here we go.
Don't tell me nothing. Just look at me with those eyes. I feel like I'm the only
Should I mime?
in the world who truly knows for definite
Just feels weird sitting here, so.
what they're saying.
Air drumming.
I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. Shouldn't be there.
Okay, anyway. Well, that was fun for me anyway. Air drumming. Yeah, so this song, funny enough, the story behind songs can ruin it for people. So it's just a little advance warning that this might ruin it for you. I was watching the news and sadly somebody had been literally crushed alive in one of these like metal compacting plants. And at the same time, I was going through a kind of not really breakup, but heartbreak situation, and that's kind of it. Just sort of hit me. That's what it felt like. Like, I mean, you know, obviously with a caveat, emotionally, it felt like I was being really crushed. Like my heart was broken. I was like, felt like stuck and trapped and couldn't get out of it. I didn't know what, you know. I was obsessively in love with somebody, and it was like my whole world was there. You know, anyway, yada yada yada. So then it just kind of wrote itself after that. So anyway, that's what that is about. Let's start with the lead vocal, just in solo, and then hear it with the thing on and off. My usual starting point is pretty typical with these, you know, the 10-2 and 4-1. Attack 3, release 7, and for a vocal, I'll typically start there. This is making it louder though, so just to give you a fair test of what it's doing to the sound without just tricking us with turning it up, I'm gonna level match the output on here. And yeah, so there we go. So let's listen to the vocal. This is just the print from the console.
I'm sitting in terrified.
So that's just what it is. Maybe we'll go to a verse.
I look at you.
Maybe we'll hear what you heard. Maybe I should have planned this more.
Don't tell me nothing.
Wow. Instantly better.
Just look at me with those eyes.
Let's hear that again.
Don't tell me nothing.
That's off.
Don't tell me nothing.
So at least what I'm hearing is, when I talked about intimacy, I'm hearing a lot more kind of top end breathiness and like whisperiness, and you know, it just sounds much more emotional to me.
Don't tell me nothing.
Which is what I want here.
I feel like I'm the only in the world.
And it just sounds a lot more full and less not that it sounded honky, and hopefully Sylvia and Mike will not be offended because obviously it's an amazing mix. But like now with this on there, it just sounds fat and like smoother, and I sound like a better singer. I think you know, it's less nasal.
I feel like I'm the only.
Smooth.
I feel like I'm the only in the world.
And let's go somewhere where I'm really pushing it here. Okay. All right, sorry.
I wanna make you.
So this is it with the compressor off.
Wanna make you my life.
So that's with it off, just I'll hear it in the song.
Wanna make you my life.
And then put it on.
Shouldn't be there.
So, wow. I think that sounds pretty damn good. The way it makes it clearer in the mix, even not again, not that it needed to be anymore, but like now that I hear it with the balcony on there, it's just like so much more upfront, without being overpowering because I still want the band to be really going for it at the end there and not, so I want it to be soaring but still being held without sounding like it's being squashed. And that's kind of what this is doing. And I'm going for around like 7 or 8 decibels, give or take. Uh, yeah, I'm just blown away by this, and I kind of want to go through the mix now and add it into the other tracks. This is something where I want to try it on the bass next, actually, because the bass, I want to bring out a lot more, and see what we can do with that here. And to start with, I'll leave it. Oh yeah, and I also wanted to say for more aggressive things, it's how you have the all buttons in, and on some of the different emulations you can do like one button or a couple. This does that where you can have the bottom two buttons or all of them, and it's just brilliant for getting more of an aggressive like parallel thing happening. And something that I haven't found yet in a plugin, and I do have a real 1176. It is a reissued Universal Audio one, which has also a really cool vibe because it hasn't been calibrated properly, and I've left it like that, and I like it. And that will add a lot of nice girth and low end and kind of sub harmonics to a bass that I haven't found in a plugin yet. And this balcony left is giving me that love, which I'm super excited about as well. So that's what I'm going for with this on the bass. And we'll hear it in the mix. Ooh.
You're in my head. Shouldn't be there.
I'll turn the vocal off just so you can hear the bass. It's amazing. And I know I'm making the bass louder because I want it to be louder now. Like I don't know, my taste has changed or something. But this is really it's just so good on the bass. It's just adding more fullness, and you can hear it in the mix more, even when I attenuate the output to be a comparative level. It's just fuller and like holding it down. It's a great bass line. It's like, where's the bass? There we go. And you can hear him playing it. You can hear the fingers on the strings and the thuddiness and and I'm slamming this quite hard because I've got all the buttons in. I don't think that means that this is, showing you what's happening anymore because it's the craziness of all the buttons. And it just sounds so good. It doesn't sound like I'm ruining the sound. I don't think it still sounds natural, and I'll typically experiment with the attack time on a bass and do a faster attack. So when I want to hear the kick cut through the mix, that's kind of like a way of letting the kick through without side chaining sometimes. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, but it doesn't necessarily need that here. But yeah, really loving what it's doing on the bass. Okay, let's hear it with the vocal back in, and then move on to I'm just going to quickly do the vocal doubles as well, which I've got a balcony left on. Also pushing in all the buttons and pushing. I like to have the doubles really, really slammed and then have them kind of tucked into the mix, but really compressed when I do this. So that's what I'm going to go for here.
Strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head.
I feel like I can hear my my throat, like the pain, so much better with this balcony left on.
Strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head.
Let's go for it. All buttons in.
Strength to bear this load on my mind.
I mean, these are wet vocals, so that, you know, isn't ideal for slamming, but let's see.
I'm sitting here terrified, waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to.
Oh, so good. And I'm probably moving too fast, but I'm just excited. It's like I want the double. I don't want the doubles to jump out and be too dynamic. And I love how when you really push them down. If anything, it's making the lead vocal sound stronger, which is what we want the doubles to actually support the lead vocal and not distract from it, and having it go through the balcony left and holding them down like that and thickening them and making them more solid foundation for the lead. Oh, it's just awesome. I love it.
I'm sitting here terrified, waiting for something down the road.
Makes me want to re-release this. All right, let's check it out on the drums. I've only got a drum stem, so I'm probably going to end up doing a kind of pretend it was a parallel bus on the rooms or something like that. But you never know. Let's see. The balcony left surprises. So let's play. I'm going to solo some drums here. Matt Collins. You can hear the bass because they actually track the bass and drums at the same time at Sylvia's studio, Radio Star Studios in Weed, California, back in the day. Well, not that far in the day, 2008, I think it was. So you can hear they had the bass cabs under the stage, and we recorded. We actually all played like I was on stage as well with just like an SM58 playing into a keyboard, just so that we could still play off each other, even though it was being recorded multi-track to a click. Anyway, wasn't trying to turn this into a video about that, but that's why you can hear the bass bleed anyway in the drums. So I'm going to start just getting something conservative with the drums, and then we'll do like a parallel one as well. I'm going to duplicate the drum track and do a parallel one. We'll do that second, and I'm going to just call this drums P bus for parallel bus. Okay, so we'll leave that muted for now and come back here. So this will just be like a settle lift. That's the plan. I'm going to do it in the mix so we can hear what's happening, just to help them. Wow. So it's gone from like putting this on the whole drum kit. I'm hearing the sustain of the snare better. I'm hearing like the car, like I just, it's all there. And again, I'm not trying to offend the mixers because that's amazing, but like it's really fun to really come back to something 10 years later or 15 years later and with a new tool and pull out things that, yeah. But it's, you might not ever think of putting a 1176 across the whole drum bus. Like you'd probably usually do something else, like an SSL bus compressor or distressors or, a combination, whatever. But wow, I mean, this is so versatile. This plugin is so versatile, and it's also fun to like, it's quick to use. It's the interface is really nice. I find it inspiring having a graphic interface that's looks real, like it's probably a real photo of the real thing with the the tape there. And it sounds amazing and it's inspiring. And I think that's something that people will forget about when they're talking about audio tools and how many dB at this frequency is blah blah blah. And sure, but like, does it inspire you? Does it make you excited? Especially if you've been doing this a long time and you might be, you know, some days you might not be feeling as excited as other days, and then you find something like this and you're like, oh, this is so cool. That's why we have lighting. That's why we have scented candles and so on and so forth. It's not just about the sort of clinical side of things. It's about the atmosphere, which inspires better performances and better, more emotion. And that's what, at least for me, that's what mixing and mastering is about. It's about conveying that feeling and that emotion as tailored to the song as an artist and as possible. And this is really doing that for me. And yeah, I wanna get it into my mastering world as well, and yeah. Anyway, so there we are with the drums, with the just across the drums, and you can hear the drums so much clearer now.
My life.
It almost sounds like there's no reverb on the drum. I mean, there is, but, if the snares, like, cuts off pretty quick, obviously that was deliberate for who's been working on it, and then you put this on, and it's really loving that sustain that's added.
My life.
Now we just need multi-touch screens so that you can do the two knobs like that at the same time, like you might on a real one. But anyway, all right. So now I'm going to have a go with it in parallel with some more extreme settings. So let's just try all the buttons in and let's try a fast attack. Why not? Which you wouldn't normally on drums, but for the slamming parallel, it could be fun. We almost don't need to hear this on its own because it's going to be something ludicrous. And then let's hear it with the other drums and blend it in. We could start with the other drums without the balcony left on, and then we'll bring in the parallel balcony left and see what it sounds like.
My life.
So that is on this one, yeah.
My life.
Okay, so okay, forget what I said about the fast attack. Let's have that super slow attack. It sounds sick, even though I'm really aggressive with it. It sounds sick on its own. Let's go to a part of the song where I'm not killing your ears.
Down the road, feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head, shouldn't be there. I look at you.
No, sorry, I'm getting lost in it. Quite often, if I'm mixing or processing things, uh, you know, I'll probably have run out of ideas with one plugin by now and be looking for something else too. And I wanted the distressor, I want an SSL channel strip, I want some Cornef like stuff, and I mean, I'll still want the Cornef stuff, I'm sure, but that's another thing. But like, this is just it's just so versatile and so inspiring, and it's giving you so much more than you think. Especially if you're somebody that's new to the 1176, you're going to be blown away with how much you can do with it. I mean, it sounds like I've added a whole new room mics. It sounds like I've added some reverbs, and it's all just from what the 1176 is able to bring up without um without making it muddy or anything. You know, it's not making it messy. It's making it still sound clear and tight and punchy and aggressive and, you know, but it's added that space too. I'm just like, caw, caw. So good.
I'm sitting here terrified, waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed.
I am an 80s child as well, so I do like the being exaggerated. All right, let's see. We got some chat. Let's see what it's like on a piano. Um, let's see what it's like on a piano. Thanks for bearing with me. Hope you're having fun with this little adventure thus far. I've made this as big as possible so you can see it clearer because I know my screen is pretty small. All right, let's hear the piano somewhere aggressive. I'm not sure what the chain was on the piano, except I remember there were these two mics that were pointing like at the keyboard from within the grand piano. There were these special like Eastern European mics that they were just calling the blue mics, but they weren't the company blue. They looked like they weren't quite pencil mics, but anyway, that was that. And then I think we had a mic under the piano as well for like the center and the low end. And I don't know what they recorded it through. The vocal was recorded through one of Sylvia's Yuri 1176s, and it was a old Telefunken 47. But yeah, I'm not sure if there was any compression on the way in on the piano, but this is really sounding cool already. It's impressive as well that even with that amount of gain reduction, it's almost not really changing the sound, which is a good thing sometimes if you are just wanting to use something to control, because there is a lot of attack on how hard I'm hitting that piano. Let's hear it in the mix with the balcony in and out, and I'll turn the vocals off again just so you can have a chance of hearing things. It's like it's really rocking a lot harder now. This whole record, and it's like it's adding top end, like I mentioned before, but without that digital tizziness at all. So it's almost like some of what it's doing at the top end, you might get with a high shelf a little bit, but then you'd get all this harshness, and then you'd be compensating for that. And this is doing all that magic without having to do kind of surgery after the fact, you know, which is what you want. You want to be able to keep moving and keep creating and all right, let's see what it's like on a softer bit. And also, I've just remembered I haven't mentioned yet, there's a mix knob within the plugin as well. So you don't have to go duplicating tracks and making parallels. You can do that within the plugin. So say, for example, with the piano, I think what I'm doing might be going too hard, especially at the beginning. So why don't we try backing off and using this mix knob? Let's hear it with the vocal, because the vocal's in context.
Don't tell me nothing. Just look at me with those eyes. I feel like I'm the only in the world who truly knows for definite what they're saying. There's no way I could explain this to anyone.
So now you can hear the piano part better. The which is underneath the vocal. When I bring in the balcony left, you can hear those details so much better without it distracting from the vocal because it's making the piano sound wider to me, without sounding weird or phasey or anything. It's just making it the whole thing sounds more immersive. Even though it's just stereo, it sounds more immersive with this plugin on.
There's no way I could explain this to anyone, anyone but you. I'm sitting here terrified, waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength.
Yeah, cool. All right, let's have a look at the guitar. The guitar on this is pretty clean. Let's do a global in and out. It's going to get louder, but let's just do a global in and out of the balcony left.
Sitting here terrified,
It's off.
waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more
I'm just realizing the pun now, crushed alive with a compressor. You could be crushing something, but in this case, we are not. It's sounding good. All right, let's see what happens on the guitar. So the guitar is pretty clean. It's just doing this kind of down, 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 kind of crunchy. I believe it was a Les Paul of some kind with a matchless amp a lot of the time, or a cab, matchless cab combo.
being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. Shouldn't be there.
In this case, I might make the attack faster so that we, don't have too much edge going on. We can experiment, of course, but that's what I'm doing right now.
Terrified, waiting for something down.
Get more sustain.
Terrified, waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. Shouldn't be there.
That's cool. All right. Again, sounding thicker, sounding more expensive, sounding more stable. It's just doing so many good things at the same time. The strings we have at the end is a solo cellist who is called Laura Collins. She's the drummer's sister. And I regret that I didn't let them have these louder in the mix originally, because they should be louder. And I think that actually Mike wanted them louder, and at the time I didn't. I was a bit too obsessed with the piano and vocal, as young artists might be a bit too focused on what are they sounding like. If I could go back in time, I would have no notes and just be like, yep, sounds good. Trust people more as you get older, don't you? In this way. maybe not in other ways, but in with people who are skilled at something in music. When you're younger, you might have an issue with letting go of things. And anyway, good lessons. So we're kind of going for like a Mellotron vibe a little bit there, as you can hear, with a slight distortion. So this is bringing out a lot more bite. Again, even if the needle's not moving. And you can actually turn off the compressor part, I think. Anyway. I think it's going to cut through the mix even more. Let's see. With it just on the main cello part. What's this other one doing? This is a line, I think. So you can hear the control room a little bit. Why not? Texture. That's the word I'm looking for. This brings out texture. Like I can feel the bow on the string. I can feel my throat tensing up. You know, you can feel the piano hammers banging away. You can feel the skin on the drum. It's just bringing out all that detail somehow. Amazing. Okay, now I'm just going to go through again and just kind of, if I was mixing it now, what would I do levels wise? So the organ is just meant to be there as a pad that you don't notice. In this case, I mean, not in general. All right, so let's just play the whole song and dial in the levels a bit more. But as you, I think, can hear, this is a really, really special plugin. If you're listening on headphones, listen to when I turn that plugin on, how you all of a sudden hear the width. Like it just goes from like pretty wide to like, what? Listen to that. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. You shouldn't be there. Okay, so I know I'm exaggerating some of the parts that I'm doing, just so you can hear it even more clearly, but yeah. Now let's try putting one on the mix bus, which again is something that one would not normally do. Although I believe Michael Brower does use a pair of 1176s on his mix bus. I doubt they're doing anything extreme. And I don't actually know what kind of settings he's using or what he's going for, but let's just see what happens when we put it on the mix bus as well. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna have to definitely turn things down. So what I'm actually going to do, instead of trying to have it do something subtle, is I'm going to do something really extreme and then treat it like the rear bus or like the parallel bus of the whole mix, and then blend it in using its mix knob to see if we can just get a little bit more energy out of the whole track. So that's what I'm going to do. So it's going to sound horrible for a minute as I do something extreme, and then we'll back it off. In theory, it's going to sound horrible. It might just be like, oh my God. Down the road, feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. You shouldn't be there. I'm sitting here terrified. Something down the road. Okay, I'm probably moving a bit too fast here, but now what I'm hearing is, and I know I've gone a bit overboard with the drums. You know, I'm hearing the lead vocal get even more intimate and kind of like it's getting a softness in a good way with like the breathiness. And so that's what I'm listening to at the minute through the master bus one.
And nothing else matters or even exists.
And this is something that I'll do when I'm mastering a record that is a vocal led record is I'm listening to the vocal sound as I'm doing these EQs and saturations and compressions and limiting and all that. Uh, obviously you're listening to the whole thing as a finished record, but like I'm really, really focusing on that vocal sound and making sure, firstly, that I'm not changing it in a bad way and ruining it. But also, is there anything I can do to bring out the things that as a fan I love about that voice? And this is, I mean, it'd be a bit easier to do this if it wasn't me doing my own voice because I don't want to seem like I love my voice. But I had to do my own music, so I didn't have to get permission and so on. But like being able to find even more emotion and like textures just by having the main mix to play with and not even the individual tracks is really cool that a plugin like this is doing that.
So even exists. Wrapped up in your arms, no one comes closer than this. Sitting here terrified, waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. You shouldn't be there.
I'm hearing details like the end of that word head. I don't remember the last if I ever heard that D, and now I'm hearing it. I didn't think it was a problem before, but like it's bringing out that detail. I've gone back to using just the parallel drum bus as opposed to it on the drums as well, which I think is more appropriate. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up soon. Thanks for bearing with me. I know this has been probably longer than any of us anticipated, but hopefully it's been a useful overview of what you can do with the Balcony Left 1176 plugin. And you really, really have to try this because, yes, of course, there's lots of emulations out there and there's lots of real 1176s out there and they're all different. So that's part of why the emulations are going to be different too. And you might think, oh, I don't need another one of those. And I've seen people who've said that and they've tried this. Likewise, I mean, I never thought that because it was Greg's, but like, you think, oh, I've got this one and that one and that one. But I wasn't getting excited about the software ones as I did with my hardware or like companies that are building hardware these days that make it a bit more affordable than the several thousand for an older one. And this is a plugin that's making you get a lot closer to that sound and feeling and vibe. But it's a plugin, so you can use a ton of them all over your mix. You can use it in mastering, you can whatever. You can bring it with you on the road. It's not going to break. The fuse isn't going to die on you, which mine did just before I was going to do this video. I was going to compare it to my hardware, and the fuse is gone. So I didn't have a second to swap that out. Yeah, so really cannot recommend highly enough that you try this and see what you think yourselves. I'm going to do a little bit more fiddling and then I'll say goodbye.
Waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. Shouldn't be there. look at you, and nothing else matters or even exists. Wrapped up in your arms, no one comes closer than this. Sitting here terrified, waiting for something down the road. Feel I'm being crushed alive. I need more strength to bear this load on my mind. You're in my head. You shouldn't be there.
Another thing that's really cool is that, when you have hardware like this, uh, often people will just have it set and not touch it, and that's fine. And that's kind of what I do with mine. Um, but even then, when you have the software, you probably do like what I did at the beginning of this video, where I just set it the way I normally would and didn't really fiddle, and that was it. And now I'm like feeling encouraged and inspired to, because I'm not familiar with this actual unit, of seeing what does it sound like when I use a different ratio, or I do these two together, or these all together, or whatever. And you start using your ears a lot more while being inspired by the way it looks and feels. Like it's also, we're not looking at analyzers and seeing things. We're just like using our ears and our gut and our hearts, and that is what the balcony left is for me. It's like going back to mixing with your gut and your heart and your feeling, and that is what music should be all about.